What's up, guys? Hope you're doing all right. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Jay Chains. It is Wednesday, October 30th. We got one more day until Halloween. Spooky season is almost over. I cannot believe that. Spooky season. What a fun month October is. Speaking of October being a fun month, Uptober, am I right? We had a fantastic kind of end finish to this month. We're gonna see where it's all gonna end though. Uptober didn't quite do exactly what we intended. Now, if I look, and it did go up from the time that we looked at this yesterday. But our 5K portfolio up to 77.18. Most of the damage we've done so far has been in the trading account. We've got our XRP is down about 120 bucks. The graph is up 120. You got Pith up about 150, and then Jasmy is down about 100. So all in all, we are up 2,800 bucks on the month on this portfolio. But we are going to push it, baby. We're going to push the Uptober portfolio to Moonvember. That's what we've called that on the morning show. So we're moving that to Moonvember. Now, speaking of all of this, guys, we are always cautiously optimistic. And so I'm actually really excited about the conversation that we got going on today. I know Miss Caesar. Some of you guys might know Miss Caesar as well. Bits of Wealth. We are going to be hanging out with him today, chatting. It's going to be an epic tale of the Bulls versus the Bears. My guy is typically more of the bear mentality, as you can see from his PFP if you are watching, I am more of the bull. But I think at the end of the day, we kind of have the same ideas. We're thinking the same stuff, and just really hopeful that hey, crypto bull run is imminent. But we might see a little bit of downward action. Who knows? But my brother, how you feeling today? Thanks for joining me.
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. It's been an interesting week. But I mean, dude, we're at a very pivotal time. I think a lot of people are starting to get either really worried or really excited. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. A lot of things to talk about.
Absolutely. So we do have a lot of things going on in obviously the next couple of days. We got the election going on, and then that will play a big role. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think is going to happen, right? And obviously, one of the things we were talking about this a little bit before we went live here is what we talk about on the morning show, and really the position that I'm kind of thinking and taking is that once we see this new administration change, that's going to happen, right? Because I believe that Donald Trump's going to win, but you don't have to explain, your political affiliations if you don't feel like that. That's totally fine. But in my opinion, that's what's going to happen. And then in the first 100 days, we are really looking forward to the signal, right? And the signal is them talking about crypto. You heard at the Nashville convention, and now both Kennedy and Trump talking about the strategic reserve with Bitcoin. And so if we hear that within the first 100 days, right, because that's usually a good metric of what's going to be important to at least the first year or two of this new administration. So we get the signal that will be our signal for retail to come in, and ultimately that's what's going to get us up above 100, because we're not going to get above 100 without the support of retail. And that's that's kind of what I've been thinking about and really anticipating over the next couple months, especially as we lead into Q1 of next year and beyond. I think we're really expecting a fantastic bull run. But what are your thoughts on all of that? Like, what do you think that the presidential election next week, is going to be all about?
Yeah, it's kind of wild that we're already here, huh? But
yeah, I know, dude, it came so fast.
This year has just been a rocket ship. We've been flying. But yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point, just based on the sentiment and looking around, I think a lot of the crypto universe is probably behind a Trump victory at this point. I think it makes sense. Look, both administrations, I think you could probably cherry pick, things that might be bullish or bearish. But at the end of the day, one side is a little bit more aligned with capital markets and free enterprise and business and, helping people get ahead versus the other side. And not to make this political. I mean, at the end of the day, I think, we can have a difference of opinion there, and we can still get along, and we can still be, here in this industry and excited about blockchain technology and all the things that are going on. So, but yeah, I personally think that right now I'm kind of sensing that more and more of crypto Twitter is definitely aligned with a potential Trump victory. So we'll see what happens, man. As far as like, how do I, how do I think that that's going to affect the markets?
Mhm.
Dude, I've gone back and forth on this one a lot. I am a firm believer that markets are always forward looking. And because of that, most things are priced in, right? So what I mean by that is people are already sitting around, just like you and I. We're having this conversation right now. And to a certain degree, we're making decisions based on potential outcomes. We're saying, either I'm all in or either I'm hedging or I'm doing this. So everyone's already doing that. Everyone's already doing that, which means that some of it, if not most of it, is already priced in. But there is always that final little catalyst, which is going to be like the euphoric bit that'll happen if, like let's say Trump does win. I think a lot of people that are maybe hedging or are a little bit sidelined right now, they
Mhm.
could say, "Hey, that's the green light, and I'm ready to go all in." Right. So I'm a little cautious still in that, I do believe things get priced in, and I'm almost looking at this like here's a good example.
Yep.
Most people know that events tend to be a buy the rumor, sell the news, right? Like, oh, there's a big event. It almost always happens that way. I don't know why. But I think what it is people get excited, right? So people say, ooh, there's this event. There's probably going to be some cool announcements. I'm going to load up. I'm going to front run everyone else. Then the event comes. And even though there's like really exciting news and there's announcements and all these things, most of the time it's not market moving. Like it's not substantial that you could say like, oh, I brought in billions or trillions of dollars because of this announcement. Like it rarely happens. So I think what ends up happening is all the guys that front ran that then start taking some profits at that time. And, some people end up buying late into that and they get stuck on the wrong side of it. And then they all dump and everyone dumps and then it goes down. Right. So it's like to some degree events, and I include this election in that, can be a buy the rumor, sell the news. And what are we getting right now? We're getting some buys, we're getting some pumpage in the market. So I don't know. Like that's the cautious side of me is thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a case to say that as well. I mean, and I agree with you because if you look at the chart, like just the absolute pumps over the last couple of weeks leading up to this election, and one of the things that I don't want to say that it's sketchy because I don't feel that it's sketchy, but it could also be really is if you were there was an article that I was reading about Polymarket. They're saying that it's a lot of like wash trading going on. I got to take a look because the article was talking about there's over $2.7 billion in bets on the election results, and as of like yesterday, it wasn't even. Let's see, it was like 950 million for Trump and like 550 million for Kamala Harris. And so I'd have to take a look and see what the numbers are today. But like, man, if this thing is growing at that rate, there's people talking about and unfortunately, but people with big packs, right, being able to put a lot of money into that to sway that because they know there's so much attention. People are looking at Poly Market, and it's almost like it's not the end all be all, but there's going to be some people that are going to go with that just because they want to make some money with it too.
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing, right? Is we're in a market here um where it's already speculation just in how we are talking about these assets and what's going to happen. And then you've got people now that are gambling on that speculation, which is just another level of betting just on top of that. But dude, I mean, these I was looking at some of the stats. I'm not super active on Polymarket, but um, a lot of times it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. It does tend to kind of tell ahead of time, what an outcome or a potential outcome is.
Yeah, no, I think and I wonder if it's the kind of community thought behind it, or just who knows, like how the prediction markets like these can turn out to be so true. Yeah, so it is now the presidential election winner 2024 is 2.7 billion. That thing is just jumping. Someone
Wow.
is just adding money into that. And I know, one of the things that does kind of I don't want to say again sketch me out, but when you see the number approaching that 69 420 that Elon keeps talking about, like are they driving it there for the meme?
It could be, man. I mean, everything's a meme. I feel like we're in a simulation right now.
Okay, talk, because we got to talk about this. So we're gonna have, I think tomorrow, Friday, we're gonna do a Truth Seeker Day, right? So we're gonna do a good old Truth Seeker Day on the breakfast show. And so there was, were you just saying? Oh shit.
Like everything's a simulation, man. It just
Oh,
feels like we're in the Matrix right now, man. It's crazy.
yeah. So one, I want you to make sure if you can tune in Friday, come hang out with us
Yeah,
and chat
for
that
sure.
stuff. But two, so speaking of the simulation, like maybe we're not in the simulation yet, but what's happening is that we are currently developing what will become the simulation, right? Think about like where we think the oasis in a
Right.
Ready Player One was, right? And where we think that, we want to go to this fully immersive metaverse kind of
Mhm.
alternate reality that we can check out of this one. That kind of reminds me a little bit more of that concept, doesn't it?
Well, and I think that to add to that, right, you have more people that are waking up to the potential that, it's like, hey, man, this is like something going on. There is a bit of a simulation feel going on here. A lot of people are talking about, even to kind of take it back to the election stuff. A lot of people talk about that it's all a movie, it's all a show. Like they're just they're trying to wake people up, because I do agree with this, that I think there was a time. Let's put it this way: there was a time when politics were really taboo, and they still kind of are, right? They say, "Oh, don't talk religion, don't talk politics, and all this stuff." But politics are so it's so deeply tied to finances that if you're in finances, you can't not be political to a certain degree, because everything that happens in Washington affects business. It affects investors. It affects people that are in these capital markets, right? And so I think we're finally getting back to a point, and I actually like that this is happening, because one of the things that brought me into crypto was not so much that it was this wealth generating opportunity. Definitely was that.
Mhm.
Definitely saw it as like being early to something new and potentially very big. But the other part of it was it was the fact that it was like this rebellious thing, man. It was a big middle finger to the institutions that have ruled everyone for the longest time, right? It was like, hey, we're doing this for the people, man. Like finally, there's a way to opt out. I remember when I was first getting into Bitcoin, man, I sat down and I must have watched like 2 or 3 of those like 2 hour long Bitcoin documentaries. I was
Mhm.
I was doing a lot of research. I was trying to understand like what was the motivation for Satoshi to create this, like why is it different from anything else. I was trying to understand fiat versus sound money. I was trying to learn about economic cycles, like all of this stuff, bro.
Let me
And
ask you.
all,
Let me
all
ask
of that is
you a question.
political.
Quick question: was this back in the day of reading white papers too?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Things have
sorry to
changed,
cut
bro.
you off,
Things
but
have
yeah, dude,
changed, bro.
that was a whole era in crypto, was making sure
Yeah.
making sure you read that white paper now.
Read that white paper, bro. You gave it a good up and down.
Oh man.
Oh, how things have changed, huh?
Yeah, you wouldn't even think about reading a white paper before you ape into a shitcoin now.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Things have gone
Times are changed. I didn't mean to cut you
far
off, but
away.
I had to ask about that.
Nah, dude. I mean, it's right on topic and right in line. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I see it, man. Like, I think a lot of people came in here out of some kind of rebellious, opt
Mm,
out, screw the system thing, which is a political movement.
yeah.
At the end of the day, that is a political movement. And then we lost sight of that, unfortunately. I think that, you don't have to look that far back, but crypto's turned into this big casino. It's nothing but greed. It's getting as far away as you can from the sound principles that led all of this, man. Like Satoshi's like turning in his grave, like it's just it's a complete opposite, man. So I think this is why I've been so bearish on it recently. And I didn't get this bearish, Jay, till like it was probably like late summer last year, fall time. I was like, man, I'm not liking the way things are going. I'm not. I've been through enough cycles that I understand what happens with celebrity meta. I understand what happens with like the meme coin degenerate craze, throw money at everything, it all goes up. I didn't like what was going on with the, oh, screw utility, projects that are protocols are dead, like just meme only, up only, like, dude, all that stuff for me. And I'm a highly technical trader. I don't trade on fundamentals,
Right.
but I have to take sentiment of that type of stuff into account.
I mean,
And
now because
yeah.
the ecosystem's a little bit larger, right? There is a little bit more dilution in it too. And I think you say that about the meme coin thing, and that was something I was talking to somebody about a couple days ago. Was you look at years past and the beginning of bull cycles past, where things might have been generated a little bit by the churnings of the meme coins, right? And then Bitcoin did its thing, and then altcoins got their run, right? And that's how it went. But now we have every blockchain has their own ecosystem with a shit ton of dilution, because you've got all these meme coins or culture coins or utility, whatever they happen to be, right? So now, where does the separation happen? Where do we I think you said the sentiment is where you have to really start to look at this now again, because the ecosystem's changed a little bit, and we're starting to see really an adoption level from a couple different fronts. And I have been saying, you're really going to see this come from three fronts, right? It's got to be the institutional, it's got to be governmental, and then it's got to be retail, right? Institutional's done, lock it up. We got the ETFs, they're here, they've been here. 2017, 2018 was when I got in. 2017 is when I got into the market, and very early into this whole game, people were crying for institutional money, but the whole thing never really sat well with me. It's just like, here's the deal: they fucked up the TradFi system. Why do you want them here? This is they're going to mess it up even more. But at the end of the day, they are going to bring their money and they are going to pump our bags. So we respect the pump, right? And so that's done. Again, leg one, it's the three-legged stool. It's institutional. Lock it up. They're here. Governmental, like I've been talking about. And that's why I think it's so important that we get the kind of the first 100-day signal, because then that was what triggers the rest of it. But then that's the governmental mass adoption, which we already are seeing, right? You got Bukele buying a Bitcoin a day that we know about. You got other governments or countries that are doing the same thing. Some are public about it, some are not public about it. And so we know that when the switch flips, then they're going to say crypto's cool. And at that point, that's when we pile in the retail. And so there's like the three kind of angles to bringing that mass adoption of how it all works, and tied together with what we were talking about there.
Yeah, and the institutional part is really interesting because going back to what I was just talking about, this was all kind of born as a way to get away from them, and we've invited them in. We've invited them in now,
because our bags wouldn't pump without them.
Well, and that's the interesting part, though. I think that's actually an interesting debate in itself, and I'd love to see someone host a debate on that, and bring in the Bitcoin maxis, bring in the true Bitcoin maxis. I'm not one of them, but bring in the true OG maxis, and then bring in some of the newer guys that have maybe been around one cycle or something like that. Because I do think that the OGs, like the true maxis, they still feel that we would have been better off without institutions. And their thesis, look, and it has some truth to it, is that the TradFi system, the fiat system, it's going to collapse over time. So, Bitcoin didn't really need institutional money to pump. It just needed time. Institutional money is maybe just pouring gasoline on the fire. It's going to speed it up a little bit, right? But then at the same time, though, you invited the devil in a sense, and now you have to deal with the repercussions of that, which is, we're seeing some of the stuff that's happening where, you could say that maybe there's some suppression going on as they, maybe are buying spot, but doing leverage shorts or doing something like that, where it's not allowing the price to move organically the way it probably would have before, right? So some things are changing, right? To your point, some things are changing. The question is, and maybe we won't know until another 5 years or something, was that the right move? Was that a good thing? Was that truly a good thing, right? To let them in? Would it have been better to take the slow and steady route over time? I don't know.
Do you think that as we start to see some of the different verticals within the ecosystem grow and develop, and this is another question I love to ask people, and you've been in crypto for a while, so I'd love to hear your opinion on this. We've got the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, and everybody lives and fucking breathes by it in crypto, and it's the end all be all. But at some point, I think the system as a whole is going to be so much bigger than what Bitcoin is, and so I think that running in tandem has got to separate, and I think we might be very close to that. Right? You talk about a key metric that I like talking about is 2030. Right? We talk about the RWA ecosystem supposedly 16 to 30 trillion in a conservative level by then. You've got gaming set to hit like 500 billion. You got the DePIN ecosystem set to you'll be a couple trillion again. So like there's a couple things that we're gonna see this absolute insane growth over the next 5 years. When would we have time for a bear market? Like it wouldn't it, don't you think like at some point, like if Bitcoin wants to go on its 4-year cycle, it's fine, it can do that. But the rest of the system, like like the pharmaceutical industry, they might not have the same ups and downs as say consumer products or what what I'm saying. Like they run differently. They are different entities, and that's kind of what crypto is you've got these projects that do different things throughout our lives. And so why do they all have to like follow what Bitcoin does?
I don't think they have to. And and this is actually a great topic. I don't think they have to. I just think that as a whole, like all of crypto in totality, it's still too small. It's still too small, and there's not enough outside capital or new investors that it's going to be able to separate that just yet. So we can't quite fragment to that point. I do think over the long run, potentially, as we kind of start to draw that line a little bit bolder that separates Bitcoin and some of these other assets that might be like a value storage or a way to preserve wealth from what is like just purely a tech play. Like what is infrastructure that you can build cool new tech, the new internet, right? Or the new whatever you want to call it, right? And I don't think that those are two in one. I really don't. I think that obviously BTC, but potentially ETH is going to be more around, storing and preserving capital and putting capital that maybe you then build some of that tech layer on top of. But I think they're going to be very separate. I don't think anyone's going to be trying to go pay for a coffee with BTC or ETH. I mean, you've got better alternatives to that, so why try and force that? But the other stuff is going to be a pure tech play, in my opinion, which means that it's going to have some of the issues that technology has, which is, technology moves fast. What's cutting edge today could be, completely, just left behind tomorrow. It can happen. So I think that there's different risks in that, right? And I think you have to keep that in mind. Like what today is the fastest chain or the most used chain could be nothing tomorrow if all it is purely a tech play, right?
Yeah,
So
well, I mean,
I don't know, man. It changes the dynamic.
yeah, I mean, a very easy way to look at something like that in real time is look at the top 10 over time, right? There's a lot of things have come and gone, whether it was a hype speculation, and then maybe some of these things are, they're actually building something that's worth a damn, and that's why they're starting to get placed where they are.
Yeah, 100%. And then the to me, like the one that I really want to see how it develops is the memes and these culture and community coins. Because I absolutely believe that one of the things that they do very well is they do build community and they get people that are, at a cult following type of passion, right? It's no different than what, like, the people who were playing Magic the Gathering or Pokemon, or people that were like diehard Call of Duty fans, or like it's the same thing. But
World
you're
of
doing it.
Warcraft, which started
World
Bitcoin,
of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, exactly, man. So you're doing the same thing. You're basically building community around something that people like or people are excited about, right? You see it in Comic Cons, you see it at events. So there's definitely that. That's not going away. The question is, though, like, does that stay the most relevant thing, or is that just going to be a little piece of all of this, right? Like at some point, do RWAs, do DPINs, do all of these things start to claw back some of that attention, and then memes just kind of level out. Whereas right now, I'd say most people are probably just focused on memes right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good observation, and I think it really all comes down to maybe what do you want out of all of this, right? Like, do you give a shit about investing to make money, or did you buy in? Because there was a lot of people that bought in, and we really saw the infiltration, I think, from the NFT bros into the coin bros when their bear market hit, because the whole idea of let's bring community over to crypto was. I thought it was almost genius because their idea was, listen, this isn't your dad's country club anymore, right? Who has time to go spend 4 hours? And some people do. I get that. I personally don't. But who has time to go spend 4 hours and play around to golf a couple times a week at the country club? Right? No one has that. But what you can do is you can buy an NFT or you can buy these coins, and now you're token gated into the club, your country club, right? And you're hanging out, and you're hanging out in the voice chats, the video chats, the Discord, whatever it may be, and you feel like you belong, right? You've made a community, you've made some friends, and you don't have to leave your house if you don't want to. You don't have to go, down and put on a suit and tie and go down to the fancy dinner night. Like, you can just log in on your computer and hang out with your buddies and have a good time. It's changing. It is changing the landscape of investing to some regard, because now people are in some way, shape, or form marrying their bags, right? Because how do you not dunk on your friends when you guys spend every day in the Discord and you wake up in the morning, hey, GM, everybody, like, hey, we're buddy, like, you need some money. Like, how do you dump on your friends and like, hey, that was me who wrecked the chart. I had to pay my
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, dude, it's
investing. We're marrying our bags.
it's and you can't blame people, right? Like, let's say you put a few thousand or something into a coin that turned into a 6 or 7 figure bag for you. Like, how are you not going to be emotionally tied to that? How are you not going to be passionate about that? How are you not gonna want to somehow give that or some version of that to like your friends and family, right? Because you want them to potentially have that. Like, dude, I don't blame anyone for that.
Right.
But this is the part to me that I think crypto still maybe lacks a little bit of maturity when it comes to this. Is like, it's very much a lottery ticket mindset. It's very much a casino, I hit the jackpot mindset, and that's fine. Like, the opportunities there, seize it, whatever, right? But we have to recognize that it's not value investing. It's not smart trading. It's a bit of, believing in something, as Murad says. It's a bit of timing. It's a bit of being early, taking a chance, and sometimes you strike gold. Like, amazing, right? Amazing. Dude, I couldn't be more excited, like, for people that have life-changing outcomes from that stuff. Like, that's amazing, dude. Like, I would never speak badly of someone for that, but it's not what's going to happen to the 99%. Those are outliers. Those are the 1%, dude. It's just how it happens, right? Like, think of all the kids that go and play sports in high school. What fraction of them get into college sports?
Very
And then what fraction of those guys get into professional?
Right.
It's just how the world works, man. There's no industry in the world where 99% of people succeed at it. There's a mix of chance, a mix of skill, a mix of timing, and it's all it is, man, and preparation. And some people hit it big and some people don't. And I think we just have to be careful to not paint a picture that like everyone can come in here and do this, because it's absolutely not true.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And what I love that you said right there at the end was also a absolutely perfect segue, I think, maybe into looking at some charts. Is it's all about that preparation, right? And it's all about setting some things up for yourself so that when you get to certain places, like, just get out, like, so that you don't have to round trip it. And like, that's another thing why you hear some people are so vocal about a certain project, is because they got sucked in so hard, is that they've now been forced to round trip something. And so you may have been rich, but then you wrote it down and now you're hoping it goes back up. But so it's things that you can do, best practices. I'll pull up your chart in just a second here, but some of the things that, best practices that people can do in order to help win the bull run here is, again, set some parameters for yourself. Where do you want to start taking your profits? Where do you think things are going to go? Like, if you think Bitcoin's going to go to $140,000 this bull run, when we get to 100,000, you might want to start scaling out so that if it doesn't quite make it, you didn't lose. And if it goes really quick and you missed it, you didn't lose. You know what I mean? Like, these are all things, and because it's really easy to make money in crypto, it's very hard to keep it.
I mean, that's an all of life, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring up your chart here,
Cool.
because you are just a master at these things, and I assume this is Bitcoin. Actually can't see that, to be honest with
Yeah, I got BTC up right now. Let me get a
you.
quick
Okay,
drink. By the
what do
way,
you what are you thinking
my
about that?
avatar is
Because
gonna trip out a little bit when I take a drink, man. The camera doesn't know how to pick it up. You'll see. Watch.
okay,
Oh, I didn't do it that bad this time. Sometimes it looks like he's like roaring or something. I don't know what's going
that's awesome. It's like no,
on. Yeah, so let me switch over to my BTC chart here while you got it up on the screen. So yeah, this is Bitcoin. You know, it's on the daily time frame, and this is basically the range we've been stuck in here since the beginning of the year, since March for sure. And so one of the things that you'll see like when I'm sharing charts is you've got these red and green zones all over my chart, and people are like, yeah, what's all that red? What's all that green? These are high time frame zones, man. So what I basically do is I'll go to like a weekly chart, and there's a lot of zones on here. I've only got these two highlighted at this moment, but essentially using volume profile, using actual, buy sell volume here as well, looking at this stuff, you can build out a general idea of where support and resistance zones exist on a high time frame, right? On a weekly level. And then what I do is I try and stick to a bias in that, when I see red, I'm looking to sell existing positions or I'm looking to enter short. When I'm in a green zone, I'm looking to buy or I'm looking to long or I'm looking to get out of short positions, right? So it's a quick way for me to make sure that I don't get distracted in the chop and forget where I'm at in the big picture, right? So right now, like BTC, I'd say this is a pretty solid support zone here around 52, right? It's where it's supported here. You've had some pivots in the past back here. This I've got this marked as like resistance, and it's never perfect. Like there's some candles that are going to stick out above that, but this is roughly where price back in 2021 was topping out. And so once I've got my two zones, then I'm able to zoom in and say, okay, here's like on the daily, here's my general range that I'm looking to trade. If you were DCAing, you would want to be buying in the green, not in the red, right? Just like very simple things. So that's kind of how I form my general like bias, my macro bias. And then as I'm trading, I'll zoom in, like, I'll come in here to the 4 hour, for example, because I'm generally a swing trader. Like I'll pick 4 6 hour chart entries and I'll hold them, in between ranges, which if you look here, if you would have been entering long here, you would have been holding it to here. So you're talking 20 days or so, it's like a week long trade, sometimes 2 weeks. So that's kind of how I build my entries is I'll be looking up here. And so even though we got this push up here, man, I by my trade plan and by my strategy, I'm not looking to get long anywhere right here because it's in resistance, right? Like it just goes against my strategy. I'm willing to lose a little bit of these pushes up because it goes against my trade plan. This is a resistance zone for me. There's the risk reward says that there's a higher chance in this zone that we reject and move lower than there is that it's going to go up. And the history supports that. Every
right.
time we've been up here, it's gone down. So like the fact that it's going up now, I'm okay with that, man. If my strategy hits, 5 out of 7 times, I'm good. Like I don't care that every now and then it doesn't. I'm willing to play the odds, right? So yeah.
So then how long, so assuming because it's a breakout, right? Like, and I know
Mhm.
it depends on how you actually look at the chart. If you were looking at the bullish pennant from the bullish flag from March, or now we
Yeah.
basically just have a line of resistance because we came within what, like $100 of the all-time high, I think, the other
Yeah.
day.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And so like, so we broke out of what was the flag. So technically that's a new structure. At what point do you start to say, all right, it's time to put some new lines in? Is it, I mean, if a history, it doesn't repeat, it rhymes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what's your strategy for updating?
Yeah, these zones are very much dynamic, man, because they're
Yeah.
based on volume. So the more price chops at or near a zone, it does change your volume profiles. So you do have to update these, man. These aren't like, they're not like lines, that are like concrete, immovable, and like I think that's a poor
Yeah,
way to trade the markets, to be honest. Like you gotta be willing to adapt and then pull a different page out of the playbook at times. So yeah, I move these based on the volume that's printing, but let me show you. So like right now, you might ask, well, why are you not bullish yet? You know, you're above your zone. Well, yeah, we were
Said
above
it
the zone
5 times.
there. We were above the zone there. We were slightly above the zone there. I mean, to me, even going up here to this all-time high at 70, near 74, it was not a breakout back here. So why am I going to call it a breakout right now? To me, it's not, right. Could it be? Yeah, 100% it could be, but I don't know that, like,
It's not
for
confirmed yet.
certainty. It's not confirmed 100%. So for me, like, for me to flip this zone to green, which is what I'm looking to do if we're going to go higher, is
Mhm.
I want to see price like continue to chop up, man. I want to see some volume build up here on the volume profile where there's nothing, right? There's no volume over here. I want to see some volume build up on the volume profile. I want some price acceptance to happen up here above where the price is. And then at some point, it's going to give a deep pullback. At some
Mhm.
point, it's going to give a pullback, and then it'll go. I'll be looking to get in on a pullback. I'll flip this entire zone to green, and then it's go time, right? Like that. This would show me enough daylight, enough area above this zone that we could say, okay, there's a good chance that it's flipped that, right? So there's always like a number of things. I'm looking for volume here to confirm it. I'm looking for area and daylight above the zone. I'm looking for price action to sustain a move up. I'm looking for like a pullback, which is like entry, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I'd be looking to get long up here. And look, if the market gives it to me, dude, I'm going to go long. If the market gives me a pullback, and it doesn't even have to be a deep pullback, if it goes somewhere in like in this zone, after spending some time up here, I'm good to go, man. I'll be looking to position long. And at that point, if it breaks down, I'm okay with that because I played the odds. I played my strategy, which is time above the zone, volume, all of these things. To me, that would be the criteria, right?
Oh yeah, man. That is an absolute great way to explain that. And I love that where you've kind of set those ranges for yourself so that you can just have a visual cue to kind of just let you know where you're at. And because I feel like now we have been on the high side of the range for a while, and that was my biggest thing that I've been thinking about for a while. Is like I am looking for a really good entry that the one of those solid entries for maybe the majority of the bull run kind of thing. But there has to be a major pullback. I feel it like. And again, like in the beginning of the show, I was telling you, like I am a bull. I am, and by nature, I'm very bullish on crypto, but cautiously optimistic at this time period. Like I actually see like a low 60s pullback in like the very near future. I don't know if it's you talk about the election, a buy the new rumor, sell the news thing, like
Right.
potentially could be. I don't see how there's a big sell-off if Trump does win. I could see a big sell-off if Harris wins. That would make sense.
I mean, you got to be a little bit. So this is where it's interesting, right? Markets tend to do the opposite of what most people are expecting, right? Like we just know this, man.
Facts.
The
Facts.
market's job is not to make us rich. The market's job is to continue to win. It's the casino, right? And so I think, and this is where like my conspiracy schizo mind, along with just understanding psychology, um, everyone is betting, like everyone is so certain that a Trump victory is going to equal, huge green candles.
Mhm.
Everyone is almost certain. You
What does that mean?
can't, yeah, you can't say you're a level-headed trader and not say, ooh, that would be one hell of a liquidity trap. That would be one hell of a way that people ape in, and then the market takes that, puts them on the opposite side of a trade, and then moves it down. Like, you have to have that a little bit, man. You can never be so convicted that you're then in the side of the majority and think that we're all going to get rich. We're all going to be holding hands, singing "Kumbaya" around the fire as we're print. Like, it could happen, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm there, man, and that's the thing, and again, I will reiterate, like I'm extremely bullish, but I am also having PTSD because we just got through a bear market. I know that there are $10,000 candles, positive and negative. We haven't seen
Yeah.
any of that kind of stuff yet. That we fully expect to happen very soon. I would absolutely expect a God candle at some point in one way or the other, right? Like if we're going to go up, or if that's the liquidation event that then is what the catalyst for the
Right.
bull run to really kick off and make the march. It's going to be a while really until we punch 100, but it's going to be the march there. Now, I do see that we had someone in chat saying that Bitcoin is not going to hit 100K. What do you think about that? Do you think we're going to hit 100K? Let's start with by the end of this year. What
Yeah.
do you think?
I don't think it will. It's certainly possible. I don't like to say things are impossible because I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't think it's probable. Um, but yeah, we're running out of time. I mean, I don't know how much you were keeping up with, all the critique and the hate I was getting in March and April when I told people I think this is it. Like we're not going higher this year. And so far that has not been disproven, right? I said like we're topping here around 74, like maybe it goes a little bit 74, 76, but we're not going significantly higher. We're not banana zoning in 2024, right? And so far I have not been wrong about that. That doesn't mean I was a genius. I just happened to be on the right side of that the
Oh,
way I speculated, right?
oh, bro,
What
you
happened?
could go into Polymarket. Oh no, that's yes. I would not want that. Never mind. Okay. I had the wrong button clicked because I was thinking like you could go on and do will Bitcoin hit 100K in 2024? If you put in 10K, you would win $43,000.
Ooh, those
But if you do
those are
vote
big
no, you'll
odds.
only be winning 12. So you'll only net 2,000. So not really a good bet. I mean, it's we're
Yeah,
two grand of free money. We'll
yeah.
we'll punch damn near close it, but I think it's way too psychological. Like, excuse me, the psychology of 100K is way too high to get anywhere near going over it.
Well, look, I sent you something in the DMs because I tried to share it on here and I couldn't figure out how to upload it. It's a screenshot. It's just a screenshot of a chart. We could probably pull up the chart, but the screenshot might be easier. It's something I've been looking at today, since yesterday actually, that is interesting, and I don't know like everything that this means, but there's some interesting stuff that we can talk about if you pull it up.
All right, let me see here. Let me do that. And then let's see, how do I show a picture? Share screen, present. Give me 1 second. Let me see. How would
No,
I?
no worries, man. No,
It shouldn't take more than a second. Let's see.
cool. Yeah, I'm going through all the comments right now on the side. I didn't know you could see all the comments on here. That's pretty cool.
I believe it is this right here. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's the one, man. Yeah. So check this out, man. This was on Coin Analyze.
Okay.
And so what you have in the top in the top third, it's the Bitcoin price, right? And so we're basically back at, just call it, we're back at the same price as March, right? I mean, it's off a little bit, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're basically back at the same price as we were in March. Open interest, on the other hand, a lot of people have been talking about open interest, and I'm not like a pro at this. I haven't studied it deeply, but I followed enough to understand roughly what it's showing here. But you look at open interest, and back in March, you had, call it roughly 20 to 22 billion or so in open interest. Okay. And then right now we're slightly above that. We're
Mhm.
24-ish, right? 24 billion or so in open interest. But then when you look at the spot volume, this is where it gets really interesting. Back in March, the spot volume was almost 130
Hmm.
billion. Today, it's only 25 billion.
Interesting.
So how are we moving up back to the high with no spot volume? It means that it's only
Okay.
speculators that are betting on leverage that are driving the price up. Nobody's actually, based on this, and I say nobody as a generality, but the spot volume is not supporting this move. It's just not. How are we at the same price? Call it roughly the same, slightly more open interest, but a fraction of the spot volume that pushed us up. You want to talk about fake outs? You want to talk about liquidity grabs? This is the kind of stuff that drives that, man. So this is why I'm still cautious up here.
Yeah, I mean, like that definitely puts a big question mark in your head. Now, could it also be OTC? A lot more institutional OTC deals happening that's not going anywhere.
I mean, I don't understand fully how like the ETF purchasing and how the OTC stuff on institutional side works.
Yeah.
I'd imagine at the end of the day, that still has to be counted somewhere like that, because they're still having to buy the BTC somewhere. And then whether they custody it and give people paper Bitcoin or however that's being handled, that spot volume would still show up somewhere. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, that still has to come from somewhere. So I don't know. Like, this is a question. Maybe someone smarter than me and understands it better than me that can leave a comment somewhere and tag me. But I don't understand how we can be like full bull right now when this right here is kind of maybe a red flag, you know?
Yeah. That's absolutely wild. Like I wouldn't have I've ever thought about that, but it makes a whole
Me
lot of
neither.
sense. What is your do you have a bearish case for and I know we saw the chart, but do you have a bearish case for where you think Bitcoin could potentially go if we see a big sell-off, like an absolute cascading effect,
Yeah.
that is the liquidation event right before we go parabolic? Because there
Yeah.
have to be they have to clear out the leverage if we're gonna rip. Like they have to.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, you go to CoinGlass and you put it on like the maximum time frame that it has. I can't remember if it's like a 12-month or whatever it is. There's a lot of liquidity down low, and I think most people just don't zoom out enough to understand how much liquidity is sitting. The 30 to 40K. There's a lot of liquidity down there. A
Yeah,
lot.
I'll pull that up. I love looking at that, man. Let me pull it up. Now I do it on the let's see, let's look at the 30-day, and then we want to actually do it on the not so much. Do you do it on Binance itself, or do you like doing it on
I think I've done mainly the Binance one, just because I think that that's probably a good representation of the market. And then, I've looked at Model 1 and also Model 2. Model 2 is more like the long-term picture. Model 1 is more like the high leverage stuff. So I almost look at Model 1 as like a short term and Model 2 is a long term.
All right, so let's see here. I let's see. So that's a year. The year shows us that there's more up top, but that's obviously historical stuff. Let me see 6 month, and then let me share my screen too, so that
Yeah.
because I do like looking at this liquidation heat map. I think this is a fantastic tool to be looking at. Let's see. So here's Bitcoin on the 6 month. So as you can see, I think like down there's $3.1 billion at 61,000. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to come for that. That's close
you know,
enough.
like those are numbers that that they definitely by the time they get down there, I mean, unless it's super fast, like it's going to go down a little bit, it won't be that much, but that's definitely liquidation hunting, especially because you think if that continues to go up, those people are going to be absolutely rich as
Yeah.
shit.
Put it on the what's higher than, do they have a 12-month or what's the highest one they have on there?
Oh yeah,
1 year.
yeah.
Yeah, put it on the 1 year. Yeah. And this is Model 1 or Model 2?
This is Model 1. Let me do Model 2.
No, that's fine. We could look at this one. So Model 1, yeah, like 60K, you got some lines near 60. Uh, yeah, but still look at all the liquidation they just took from the top side. Huh? That's pretty crazy. There
Right.
was a
And so
lot up
like
there.
they're always going to go top, bottom, and then they got to clear everybody up. And so like
Yeah.
that because they don't wow. So they cleared all those people.
Yeah,
Come on.
scroll down to the lower end of that chart, see if what there
Like
is below.
frozen on me. There it is.
Yeah, there's some stuff way down there under 40, but on this model, I don't know that they'd be necessarily like trying to hunt that. There's a lot down there. If you were to aggregate all that, there's a lot of stuff down there, but nothing's like jumping out bright.
Now here's like one big chunk, right? Here's a 15 billion right here at 54.
54 is in line with what I'm seeing on the charts as well, so I wouldn't be
You got
surprised.
22 billion at the 61. Now, like that 63 level, I'm telling you, like for a while until we jumped up and we did this, that 63 level is where I was really looking at picking up an order. Ultimately missed it. That's happened to me a few times, and I told you the story about kind of having the PTSD where it's just going to keep going lower. It's just going to keep going lower. We're like, man, I have within like $100 or several times now today, twice, both dips today. Like this morning, I got lines on my chart from like 6 a.m. where I'm like, it's going to go here, and then it started going super fast. So I chicken shitted out, backed out of that order, dropped it to the next one, and then it started going there. Same thing, chicken shitted out, and then it rocket shipped up. And I was like, motherfucker. But that's
well, and that's the other part of it, bro. Is like everyone right now, that's been through a few cycles. You've probably learned a couple things, right? And you're like, yeah, look, it looks like it's going to go here, which means it's going to go over here. So now you've got like layers and layers of speculating and pricing in, and people trying to front run the front runners. And so it's madness, man. It's madness. So it has complicated it a lot, and you can get super like schizo about stuff where it's like, look, I'm going to put it here. Here's my, because here's a common strategy a lot of people say, right? They say place your order and then look at your liquidation and then cancel it and open it again, place your order at the liquidation. Like a lot of people talk about that because it's like, well, they're likely, if you're wanting to open one now, you're probably being emotionally driven by the market to want to get in now.
Right.
And then the liquidation is going to tell you where they're going to take it, more than likely to wipe out most of the people that are feeling the same way. So, go place it where the liquidation was at, and look, there's some wisdom behind that for sure. But you've got so many people that are now thinking about that. And one of the things that I repeat a lot is an edge stops being an edge when everyone knows how to do it and everyone can do it. Like it's just common sense, right? Yeah. It's just facts. It's undeniable. So this is actually where like my whole bearishness about the 4-year cycle, about banana zone, at what point are there too many people that are looking at this thinking it's programmed, it's this part of the year, the seasonality, all that. At what point are there too many people betting on the same side that it finally has to give and something has to change? And I think that right now, if you're ruling that out, in my opinion, you're being a little bit foolish. Like it's not a zero probability. It's right. Greater than zero that something could be different. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, just because, everybody's spot bags are packed does not mean that the market's ready to go. I know, everybody is, you and I are on the same page, man, cautiously optimistic. I'm definitely excited for where things are going to go. Obviously it's going to be a little bit longer than we want it to be. Next year is going to be a big year for everybody, but Caesar, I appreciate you, man. This has been a very fun conversation. I wouldn't mind doing this again when we get a few weeks down the road and see where things are at and kind of have a little follow-up. But if anybody wanted to ever reach out and talk to you and get your opinion on something, where can they find you?
Yeah, just at Bits of Wealth on Twitter, on X. I still call it Twitter, but yeah, that's mainly where I'm at. I'm not really doing anything on YouTube right now. I've considered it, but yeah, just mainly hanging out on X, staying close to certain little groups and communities and stuff. But other than that, just kind of doing my own thing, man, staying in my lane.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you. This was a great conversation. Definitely learned a little bit from you. And thank you so much for your time. And guys, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the heart, do the things that you got to do on your way out of here. Show your support. And I'll be back in the morning with Web3 Breakfast at 9 a.m. Eastern. As you know, we do that. So thank you guys so much. We out of here for the day, though. Get it?
Appreciate it.